Sometimes you can be so prepared and still fail. And every time you fail, it's painful. It cuts deep. It brings sadness, disappointment, and that heavy feeling you try so hard to hide. But I've always believed this. Your character isn't judged when you're celebrating victory. It's judged when your back is against the wall. That's when the real you shows up. So no matter how great the setback, no matter how severe the fall, you never give up. You get up, you brush yourself off, you push forward, you adapt, you overcome. That is what I stand for. Some people may have looked at my past, at my decisions, and lost faith, and I respect that. But I'm not speaking to them right now. I'm speaking to the ones who still believe, the ones who never turned their backs, the ones who kept standing in my corner. You didn't give up on me, and I will never give up on you. And I know what it feels like to be told, you'll never rise again. When I woke up in that hospital bed and heard the words, you won't walk. It felt like my entire world was breaking. But someone once taught me to never give up, to dig deeper, to fight harder. And that reminder, that example changed everything. Because the world will push you down just to see if you'll stay there. But you won't. You're stronger than you think. You're tougher than the voice telling you to quit. And today, right now, I'm here to speak to the fire inside you. The fire that refuses to die. The fire that says, even when the road is brutal, keep going. You ever notice how life hits the hardest right when you're trying to rise? 1 minute, you're standing tall, and the next you're on the ground questioning everything. But that moment, that exact moment, is where your destiny is written. Because anyone can stand when the path is easy, but it takes a different kind of person to rise when everything is pushing them down. And you are that person. You don't quit. You don't back down. You don't let failure decide your story. Every setback is just another chance to prove that nothing, absolutely nothing, can break you. You look at the world, at the obstacles, at the doubt, and you say, watch me. The world will test your limits in ways you never expect, and sometimes in ways you don't think you can handle. But the truth is, every single test life throws you is designed to reveal something you haven't discovered about yourself yet. People think pressure breaks you, but more often, pressure shows you who you really are. And if you pay attention to those moments, you'll realize that the world isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to sharpen you, shape you, and pull out a version of you that even you haven't fully met. But here's where most people fall apart. They look at the weight on their shoulders. They look at how hard the path is. And they start believing that giving up is the only option left. They start telling themselves stories like, maybe I'm not strong enough, or maybe this isn't meant for me. But that is just fear trying to convince you to settle for a smaller life than the one you were built for. You've got to understand something powerful. Here, quitting is always a choice. It doesn't come from destiny. It doesn't come from fate. And it doesn't come from any outside force. It comes from you. And the moment you realize that quitting is a decision you have complete control over, something inside you changes. You stop looking for excuses and you start looking for reasons. Reasons to push. Reasons to keep going. reasons to stand up one more time, even when you feel like staying down would be easier. And that mindset shift is everything, because the world can throw storms, setbacks, failures, and disappointments at you. But it cannot decide whether you quit. Only you can decide that, and when you choose not to, you become unstoppable. Think about every great story you've heard, every legend, every hero, every person who achieved something extraordinary. They didn't get there because life was kind to them. They didn't rise because everything fell into place. They didn't succeed because they escaped struggle. No. They made it because somewhere along the way, they looked at the darkness in front of them and said, I'm not going anywhere. And that same fire lives in you. You might not feel it every day. You might not see it clearly. You might even doubt it when things get hard. But it's there. And the moment you choose to dig deep and refuse to quit, that fire becomes unstoppable. Life will test you by taking away the things you think you need. It will test you by placing obstacles right where you expected progress. It will test you by stretching your patience, shaking your confidence, and pushing you to your breaking point. And just when you think you've given everything, life will often demand more. But that's the moment you must look inside yourself and realize that the strength you've relied on so far is not the final version of your strength. There's always more inside you, more fight, more courage, more resilience. And you find it when you choose to stand firm in the face of difficulty rather than turning away from it. When the world pushes you to your knees, people around you will watch closely to see what you do next. Some will expect you to fail. Some will hope you rise. But at the end of the day, their expectations don't matter. What matters is what you choose. And if you choose to rise, if you choose to get up even when you feel broken, you send a message not just to the world, but to yourself. That message says, I don't give up. I don't back down. I am not finished. And that message becomes the anchor you hold onto in every future storm. Sometimes the test isn't about physical difficulty. Sometimes the world tests your patience, your belief, your identity. There will be days when you feel invisible, days when you feel like nothing you do is enough, days when you question your own purpose. And those days are the ones that matter the most. Because on those days, quitting whispers to you quietly. It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It simply waits for you to say yes. But if you refuse, if you tighten your fists, straighten your back, and remind yourself why you started, you begin turning your pain into power. And that transformation rewrites your entire story. The world doesn't care about how many times you fall. It doesn't care about who doubted you, who walked away, or who hurt you. It cares about the choice you make after all of that. Because your choice determines your direction. Your choice determines your future. Your choice determines the version of you that the world will ultimately see. And when you choose not to quit, when you choose to stay in the fight, no matter how bruised or exhausted you are, you step into a level of strength you didn't even know you could reach. Every test life throws at you is preparing you for something greater. Every moment you feel like breaking is actually preparing you to break through. And the people who rise to greatness aren't the ones who had the easiest journey. They're the ones who refused to walk away from the hardest one. They're the ones who looked at the pain, the pressure, the failures, the doubt, and said, I still choose to keep going. And today, right now, you have that same choice in front of you. You can let the world dictate your limits, or you can let your determination rewrite them. You can let fear close the door, or you can let courage kick it open. You can choose the path of least resistance, or you can choose the path that leads to your greatest transformation. And that choice belongs to you entirely and completely, because quitting is a choice, and you don't choose it. Every setback you face in life carries a message, and most people never stop long enough to listen to it. When something goes wrong, when a plan collapses, when you fall harder than you expected, the average reaction is frustration, anger, disappointment. People rush to ask, why did this happen to me? But the truth is, every setback is not there to stop you, it's there to teach you. It's there to challenge the version of you that walked into the situation and force you to become a stronger version walking out of it. And if you can understand that, if you can train your mind to see setbacks as signals instead of punishments, suddenly every struggle you go through becomes fuel instead of fear. Because let's be honest, these setbacks hurt. They make you feel like everything you've worked for is slipping away. They make you question your abilities, your path, and sometimes even your worth. You might look around and feel like life is moving forward for everyone except you. You might wonder why things seem harder for you than they are for others. And it's easy, dangerously easy, to let that voice inside your head whisper, maybe you should stop. Maybe it's time to give up. But that is exactly where the message of the setback lies. It is trying to push you not away from your dream, but deeper into your strength. Every time life knocks you down, it's asking one question. How bad do you want it? Not how bad you want it when things are easy. Not how bad you want it when everything is falling into place, but how bad you want it when the world is testing you. Because your desire, your passion, your commitment, they only become real when they're challenged. And make no mistake, every setback is a challenge. Every failure is a question. Every moment of doubt is a test of your belief. And if you choose to stand and fight through it, you come out the other side with a level of strength that can't be taught in comfort. There's something powerful that happens when you push through a setback. You start to learn that pain is not the enemy. You start to realize that discomfort is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. In fact, discomfort is usually the clearest sign that you're growing. Think about the strongest people you've ever admired. They didn't become strong because life was gentle with them. They became strong because life challenged them over and over again. And every time, instead of breaking, they built themselves back up. And you have that exact same ability. It's already inside you. You just need moments of pressure to wake it up. When you hit a setback, something else happens too. You discover who you really are when the world isn't watching. Anyone can smile when they're winning. Anyone can stay confident when everything is working out. But who are you when nobody is cheering? Who are you when you lose? Who are you when you fail so hard it scares you? That version of you is the real one. And when you choose to push harder in that moment, when you decide that failure is not going to define you, you unlock a side of yourself that is unstoppable. Setbacks also reveal your level of commitment. Anyone can claim they want success. Anyone can make promises to themselves about their goals. But the people who actually achieve their dreams are the ones who keep moving forward, even when the dream feels out of reach. They don't quit just because things got hard. They don't walk away just because the journey stopped being comfortable. They understand that greatness comes with scars, and they are willing to earn every one of them. And if you want to rise, if you want to reach the version of yourself that you know exists somewhere inside you, you have to be willing to endure the setbacks that shape you. Another important truth is that setbacks build wisdom. You learn more from one failure than from 100 victories. Victories feel good, but they don't teach you much. They don't show you your weaknesses. They don't expose the flaws in your strategy or the gaps in your preparation. But failure shines a bright light on the areas you need to improve. It forces you to think differently. It pushes you to reflect, adjust, and come back stronger. And that wisdom becomes one of your greatest weapons moving forward. When you start viewing setbacks as guidance instead of punishment, your entire mindset shifts. You stop taking failure personally and start taking it as feedback. You stop viewing obstacles as dead ends and start seeing them as detours. And that mindset is what separates the people who give up from the people who break through. Because once you stop fearing setbacks, they lose their power over you. Once you stop seeing failure as final, you stop hesitating to chase big goals. Once you accept that every struggle holds a lesson, you stop running from difficulty and start walking toward it. And the most powerful part of all, each setback you overcome becomes a story you carry with you for the rest of your life. It becomes proof, undeniable proof, that you can survive the things you once thought would break you. It becomes a reminder that you are stronger than you believed, braver than you imagined, and more capable than you ever gave yourself credit for. And every time life tests you again, you'll be able to look back at those moments and say, if I made it through that, I can make it through this. Because every setback is simply life asking you to rise again. And rising is exactly what you were built for. Strength isn't measured by how many times you can lift a weight or how fast you can run. Real strength is far deeper than muscles or physical ability. Real strength is built in the moments no one is watching, in the moments when you're pushed to the edge and every part of you wants to quit. It's that quiet, unshakable determination that refuses to give in when the world is screaming at you to stop. Most people mistake strength for power they can see, for victories that look good in the spotlight. But true strength is invisible until it's tested, until you are forced to rise in the face of pain, doubt, and fear. That's when strength shows itself, not as a flash, but as a steady, unstoppable force within you that keeps moving forward, even when nothing else seems to. There are moments in life when everything feels heavy. When your body hurts, your mind races, and your heart feels like it can't take another blow. And in those moments, strength is not the absence of fear. Strength is having fear, acknowledging it, and still moving. Strength is feeling exhaustion, feeling defeat, feeling like the world is against you, and saying, I will not stop. I will not be broken. I will push through. That is what separates ordinary people from those who accomplish extraordinary things. Anyone can look strong when life is easy, when the path is smooth. But the truly strong are forged in the fire of difficulty, in the struggle that tests every ounce of courage they have. Every challenge you face is a chance to build strength. It's not a punishment, it's a training ground. Pain, failure, setbacks, and disappointment are not enemies. They are teachers. They expose weaknesses, force adaptation, and push you to levels you didn't know existed. Each time you endure, each time you resist the temptation to give up, you're adding to your foundation. Your resilience grows. Your confidence strengthens. Your ability to handle future storms multiplies. And the amazing thing is, most people never realize this. They run from discomfort. They quit too soon. They think strength is something you either have or don't. But strength is earned every single day through persistence, through courage, and through refusing to be defeated by circumstances. True strength also demands honesty. It requires you to look in the mirror and confront yourself. Not the version of you that smiles when life is easy, but the version of you that trembles inside when failure knocks at the door. Strength means accepting your limitations and knowing your weaknesses, but refusing to let them define you. It's about taking responsibility for your actions, your choices, and your response to life's challenges. People admire winners because they see the end result, but they forget that those results were born from countless moments of strength that went unseen. The choice to keep going when giving up would have been easier. The decision to rise when falling seemed permanent. The determination to fight for progress when it would have been simpler to settle. And strength is not a solitary journey. Strength inspires others, even when you don't realize it. Every time you rise after being knocked down, every time you refuse to quit despite obstacles, you send a signal to the people around you. You show them what is possible. You remind them that setbacks are not the end, that fear is not the limit, and that courage is not a fleeting feeling. It is a decision. And the ripple effect is powerful. People start to believe because they see strength in action. They start to fight for their own goals because they witness yours. That is the hidden power of strength. It doesn't just carry you through. It lifts others along with you. Strength also demands patience. It isn't instant, and it doesn't appear overnight. You can't force it, and you can't borrow it from someone else. It grows as you face challenges, as you endure trials, as you confront the moments that threaten to break you. Sometimes it's invisible progress. Sometimes it's tiny victories that no one notices but you. Every time you choose to get up, every time you choose to keep going, every time you push just a little further than the last time, you are building strength. And over time, those small, consistent decisions create an unshakable foundation, a core that can withstand storms that would have destroyed you before. And strength is not about being unbreakable. It's about being unyielding despite being breakable. It's about taking hits, absorbing the pain, feeling the pressure, and still finding a way to move forward. People often confuse strength with perfection, with never failing. But the strongest people fail more than anyone. They simply refuse to let failure stop them. They fail, they learn, they adapt, and they rise again. That is real strength, not avoiding struggle, but facing it head on, embracing it as part of your growth, and using it to fuel the next step forward. Every day you have a choice. You can let life define your strength, or you can define your own. You can let obstacles convince you that you're weaker than you are, or you can use them as evidence of your ability to endure. You can let pain tell you to quit, or you can let it teach you how to fight harder. And when you start to embrace this kind of strength, when you start to see it as the foundation for everything you want in life, something incredible happens. You stop fearing challenges. You stop avoiding discomfort. You stop waiting for things to be easy, because you know that every difficulty, every setback, every moment that feels unbearable is actually the proving ground where your strength grows, where your courage solidifies, and where your unstoppable self is being built piece by piece, day by day. Your story only ends when you stop fighting, and that is the truth most people never fully grasp. Life will throw moments at you that feel like the end of the line, moments that make you question whether it's worth continuing, whether the struggle is too much to bear. But your story doesn't end there. It ends when you quit. It ends the moment you decide that what you're facing is bigger than your will to overcome it. Every setback, every failure, every obstacle, every moment of doubt, those are not the final chapters. Those are just the tests, the trials, the pages that make the ultimate victory worth telling. The moment you refuse to give up, the moment you decide to fight just one more time, that's when your story keeps moving forward. And that's when your life transforms into something extraordinary. Think about it. Every single person you admire, every figure who has inspired millions, has one thing in common. They refuse to let circumstances dictate the ending of their story. They faced struggles that seemed insurmountable, challenges that could have stopped them for good, yet they chose to continue. They chose to fight even when the fight seemed hopeless. And that choice is what defines greatness, because it's not about the victories that come easily. It's about the persistence when nothing seems to go right. The story doesn't reward those who give up at the first sign of trouble. It rewards those who rise again and again, despite the pain, despite the setbacks, despite the doubts that whisper in the quiet of the night. When you realize that your story is yours to write, that nobody else controls the narrative but you, everything changes. You start to see obstacles as opportunities. You start to see failure as feedback. You start to understand that every time life pushes you down, it's giving you a chance to get up stronger, smarter, and more determined. And the beautiful part is the story keeps unfolding as long as you keep writing it with your actions, with your choices, with your refusal to quit. Life can test you. Life can pressure you. Life can make you feel like giving up is the only option, but it cannot decide your ending. Only you can do that. Every time you face a setback, there's a moment of choice. You can let the failure define you, or you can define yourself through the way you respond. You can let disappointment close the door, or you can use it as fuel to open a window to something greater. And it's that decision, repeated over and over, that shapes the chapters of your story. Every time you push forward despite the odds, every time you refuse to quit, you are adding pages filled with resilience, courage, and determination. That is how heroes are made, not by avoiding the storm, but by dancing in the rain and refusing to be swept away by it. The beauty of this principle is that it applies to everyone, no matter your background, no matter your past, no matter how many times you've fallen. You don't need permission to continue. You don't need approval to rise. Your story belongs to you, and every time you choose to stand after a fall, you are proving not only to the world, but to yourself that the narrative isn't over. You are rewriting it with courage, with strength, with determination that no setback can erase. And the incredible thing is, the longer you keep going, the more unstoppable you become because persistence compounds. Every effort you make, every challenge you face, every time you rise despite the odds, you are building momentum that pushes you further than you could have imagined. Sometimes the world will make you feel small. It will try to convince you that your actions don't matter, that your voice is too quiet, that your efforts are meaningless. But your story proves otherwise. Every time you refuse to quit, you send a ripple of strength into the world. Every time you stand up after being knocked down, you show others what is possible. Your story becomes a beacon, not just for yourself, but for everyone who is watching, whether they know it or not. And that is the power of persistence. It doesn't just keep your story alive. It inspires others to keep writing theirs. And let's be honest, it's not easy. The path is never smooth. You will face moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments when quitting feels like the easiest option. You will encounter people who don't believe in you, people who try to convince you that it's time to stop, people who underestimate your strength. But here's the truth. No one else gets to decide your story. Only you do. And the moment you fully embrace that power, the moment you understand that persistence is your superpower, everything changes. You start looking at challenges differently. You start seeing obstacles as temporary, and your vision grows bigger than your fear. Every time you move forward, even when it feels impossible, you are proving to yourself that your story will not end in defeat. Every time you rise, every time you refuse to quit, every time you face what seems unbearable, you are carving out a path that will inspire generations to come. And when you understand that your story only ends if you give up, you realize that you have everything it takes to keep going. You realize that the chapters of struggle, the paragraphs of pain, the sentences of doubt, they are all part of the narrative that builds your greatness. And as long as you keep fighting, as long as you keep believing, as long as you keep moving forward, your story continues to unfold in a way that no setback, no failure, no obstacle can ever stop. You become unstoppable the moment you decide that nothing can break you. That is the moment when fear loses its power, when doubt becomes irrelevant, and when the challenges around you no longer dictate the outcome of your life. Life will always try to test your limits, to push you past the edge, to see if you are willing to fight for what matters. But the truth is, the power to rise above it all has always been inside you. It doesn't come from luck. It doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from a decision, a conscious choice to refuse to quit, to refuse to surrender, to refuse to let anything stand in your way. And when you make that decision, something incredible happens. You realize that the obstacles, the pain, the setbacks, they are no longer barriers. They are opportunities to prove to yourself just how strong, how resilient, and how capable you really are. Being unstoppable doesn't mean life stops hitting you. It doesn't mean challenges disappear. In fact, life will continue to push, continue to test, continue to present moments that seem impossible. But being unstoppable means that none of it can keep you down. It means that no matter how many times you fall, you get back up. It means that no matter how hard the world hits, you hit back harder, not with anger, but with determination, with focus, with a refusal to let anything take you off course. People often confuse being unstoppable with never failing, but the truth is the unstoppable rise precisely because of failure. Every time you fall, every time you are knocked down, every time you face what feels like defeat, you have a choice. And those who are unstoppable choose to rise, to move forward, to keep fighting even when giving up seems easier. That choice, repeated over and over, becomes a force that cannot be stopped. And here's the thing, becoming unstoppable starts in your mind. It starts with how you think about yourself, about your abilities, and about the challenges you face. If you believe that failure defines you, if you believe that setbacks are permanent, if you believe that obstacles are unbreakable, then life will prove it to you. But if you choose to see failure as feedback, setbacks as lessons, and obstacles as temporary tests, then life will meet you at a different level. Your mind becomes your greatest weapon. Every time doubt tries to creep in, every time fear whispers that it's time to quit, you can silence it with a single thought. I will not be broken. I will not give up. I am unstoppable. That thought, that conviction becomes a shield, a source of strength, and a foundation for every action you take moving forward. Being unstoppable also means refusing to let the opinions of others control your destiny. There will always be people who doubt you, who underestimate you, who say you can't achieve something or that you're not strong enough. And while it's human to feel affected by those voices, the unstoppable know that external judgment cannot determine their internal resolve. What matters is your belief in yourself, your commitment to your goals, and your refusal to allow external negativity to dictate your actions. Every time someone tells you, you can't, you have the power to turn it into fuel, to let it strengthen your determination, to use it as a reminder that your limits are defined by you alone. That realization that your power comes from within is the core of becoming unstoppable. Another key to being unstoppable is learning to adapt. Life will throw unexpected challenges your way, situations you never anticipated, and obstacles that seem unfair. The people who succeed are not always the strongest or the most talented. Often, they are the ones who can adjust, who can pivot, who can find a way forward when the path they expected disappears. Being unstoppable is not rigidity, it's flexibility combined with relentless determination. It's knowing that you can bend without breaking, that you can face uncertainty without losing your resolve, and that you can always find a way to keep moving toward your goal no matter what stands in front of you. persistence, courage, resilience. These qualities are built the moment you refuse to quit. They are strengthened every time you face difficulty and continue anyway. Every early morning you show up, every obstacle you face, every moment you overcome fear, pain, or doubt. These moments taken together create a momentum that grows stronger with time. And the unstoppable don't just rely on luck or chance. They rely on this momentum. They understand that success is not an accident. It's the result of consistent effort, unwavering commitment, and a refusal to let anything derail them. That is the mindset that transforms ordinary people into legends, that turns challenges into triumphs, and that makes someone truly unstoppable. And perhaps the most powerful truth of all is that being unstoppable inspires others. When people see you refuse to quit, when they witness you rise after every setback, they can't help but be motivated by your example. Your determination becomes a beacon, showing others that it is possible to endure, to rise, and to achieve despite adversity. The ripple effect of one person's unwavering commitment can be extraordinary, influencing friends, family, teammates, and even strangers who see what's possible when someone refuses to give in. Being unstoppable is not just a personal victory, it is a force that affects everyone around you, a legacy of courage and resilience that cannot be erased. So, when you decide to become unstoppable, when you decide that nothing can break you, you unlock the ultimate power, the power to rise above failure, the power to push through setbacks, the power to keep moving forward when everyone else has stopped. You realize that your limits are not defined by what life throws at you, but by how you respond to it. You realize that the greatest victories are reserved for those who refuse to surrender. You realize that the fire inside you is stronger than any obstacle outside you. And in that moment, the person you become cannot be stopped.